Oops. Oh. Man. Good morning, Bill. Can't hear you, Bill.
Just realized I was on mute. That's generally when I'm at my best.
There you. my wife would agree with the same for me. So yeah, it's like, where's the mute button? It's like I hit it, but it's all good. Really looking forward to our chat today, Bill.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward as well. So I had a chance to go through your website and everything. You got some really great topics on there. And
Thank you.
Just a couple quick questions. Is this going to be the actual podcast itself or perfect? All right.
Yep. Yeah, I don't tend to do pre-shows because I do a little research on the guests beforehand. So I pretty much know what I'm going to talk about. But usually I always ask the guests, what would you like to highlight during our chat?
I'm good with anything. The only thing personally I have going on is I have my own book coming out in February.
Awesome.
And it's called The Profitable Growth Operating System. And it's around a book targeted at middle market companies on how you grow your businesses profitably. So, but even if we don't cover it, doesn't matter, right? We're happy to do it.
Yeah, we'll definitely highlight that because the episode will probably release around January-ish. So that'll be a good segue into promoting the book before it comes out as well. So I'll definitely be on the lookout for that because that's definitely an important book because people like profits. It kind of helps,
It does.
It keeps the shareholders happy. It keeps people employed. It's a good thing, so all that good stuff. So, okay, good. Yeah, we'll just keep it pretty organic. We'll talk about whatever comes up. I know, a lot of stuff you do at OTC, and I watched a podcast that you did a while ago on that, and how you're the largest supplier of air in the world, which I thought, oh, that's an interesting marketing byline. It's like, but you guys do all kinds of fun stuff. But yeah, we'll dive into the conversation. Usually they go between 15, 20, 25 minutes. I keep it really organic. We just have a conversation and then make sure you share where people can find you at the end. And obviously I'll put in the show notes the link if it's on Amazon. If it's not on Amazon yet, because it's not done yet, as soon as it is, then I'll add that to the show notes before it goes live so people can, buy the book or get ready to buy the book before it releases.
A couple of things. It's supposed to be ready for pre-order last week in November.
Okay.
Right. And then it'll be out the last week in February.
Okay.
And so that's that's when it'll be ready.
Perfect.
The other thing, which it doesn't matter if you cover or not, I'm CEO of OTC. I'm also CEO of another company called Arrowhead Engineered Products. I have two of them. So,
yeah, it's nice that you have spare time to run two companies.
Always something going on.
Don't burn out. That's all.
Don't burn out. That's exactly right. The reward for doing good work is to get more work, right? It's
yeah. And
sure.
it's a little like, wouldn't it just be better just to give me more money? I know internal revenue would be happy with that too, because the higher I go, the more they get. It's like, wait, where's the incentive? There's that could be a completely different subject, but now we'll keep it roughly to business and not get IRS on our tail. So we prefer not to. So awesome. Well, if you're ready, we'll go and get started. Let me do the countdown.
We're ready.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back. I've got Bill Canady online. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing great, Michael. How about yourself?
I am awesome today. Really looking forward to this conversation. So for those that don't know you, I want to share a little bit about you and we'll dive into this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, it's great to be here and learn a little bit more about what you've got going on with burnout. Certainly something we all deal with. So as you said earlier, I'm Bill Canady. I'm CEO of actually two different companies. So one is called OTC Industrial Products, a wonderful business, about $1 billion out of Columbus, Ohio. And then the second one is Arrowhead Engineered Products out of Blaine, Minnesota, and we'll do about $1.5 billion. So a lot going on with me. And the most exciting thing I have this year is my first grandchild was born. So his name's Colin Arthur. He's a light of my life, and he was born in January of this year. So he's coming up on a year. So it's exciting times.
Well, congratulations on that. And I'm not a grandfather yet, but a parent of three, and they're all adults now. So we'll see. But at the end of the day, and everybody that I know that, becomes grandparents, and of course I watched, my parents, when our first was born, and, it's different. The love is still there, but it's different. And I observed it, and I'm like, and it wasn't like why are you treating them that way when you didn't treat me that way? That wasn't the case at all. When people say, were you disciplined as a kid? My answer is not enough, but statute of limitations, and we'll leave it at that. Just, I don't want to, don't fess up to anything, but you know what? That's amazing. And congratulations on that. And of course, running two businesses that are, over $1 billion in revenue is a big undertaking. And how do you, I guess, for those that are interested in maybe taking on additional responsibilities, my hunch is you've got really strong teams in both organizations that allow you to lead two of them. But I'm guessing if there was one tip that you would provide people, what would it be?
Yeah, you're first of all exactly right. The team makes all the difference, and there's three core things. If you're really, whether you're one job or multiple jobs, and I might have two outside jobs, but like a lot of people, we're parents and grandparents. We got households to do and all that, so we have a lot coming at us. The first thing is you really need to set some boundaries about what you're going to do, and depend on the folks around you. So a great team makes all the difference, and I am blessed with that. The second piece is you need some type of process, whatever that process is, because we cannot handle everything. There's no more hours coming in the day. If you try to do it all, you'll burn yourself out and flame out quickly. People will notice it. So it's important that your team has the permission. In fact, for me, it's almost a requirement. Like tell me when we're going too far, too fast, too something. Let me know. And the third piece is, you need to have something outside of work, whatever that may be, that allows you to get some headspace. Sometimes just to think, whether it's taking walks with your spouse, or playing golf, or playing with your grandson.
Yeah, I subscribe to all of those things. It's just, understanding yourself, and when there may be days where you're not feeling it, and okay, it's fine to take a break or do something different, especially if you are in control of how you spend your time, which most of us are, even though a lot of us don't think we are. We've got some flexibility in our workplaces to allow us to do things at different times. But that last component, make sure that you create space for just me time, as I like to call it. And that me time could be made up of a lot of things, hanging out with your family, reading, fishing, golfing, you name it, whatever brings you joy and fulfillment in life outside of your vocations, do it. Yeah. And even if it's only for a short stint, it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to get in 18 today. I'll do 9. Okay, great. At least you got that in. You were outside, you moved around a little bit. You only lost 6 balls, you're good. That's a pretty good day. And I'm actually surprised that, well, eventually they will. They'll have, if they don't have the technology already, they'll have GPS technology in them, and as long as it doesn't impact the ball and the weight and all that kind of good stuff. It's like, okay, where'd it go? And it's like, oh, it's in that body of water. All right, well, so much for that.
They'll have to get them to float too, because mine seem to find the water
Yeah,
more than anything else. But yeah,
exactly.
you're on point.
Well, and the key thing too is, that skill. If you're ever in the desert, you'll be just bring out the clubs and the ball. You'll find the water. That won't be a problem. You will not, die of thirst. It's for those golfers that tend to find the water. But so with the organizations, and obviously, they have obviously differences and some similarities. I think you kind of highlighted already about having a strong team, but ultimately, when you're working on them, obviously there's some different needs. How do you shift between those two? Because leading two different organizations, obviously there's a lot of skills that you bring and you use those skills without necessarily thinking about them. But how do you, just kind of, segue between the two? Because I'm sure they intertwine quite a bit.
They do, and so I'm only one human being. I mean, it's such an obvious thing to say, but at the end of the day, since I run the same process on how I run my businesses, I'm just at different points in that journey, and so for me, and I have this process, and you and I talked a little bit about this earlier. I actually have a book coming out about it in February of next year. I call it the Profitable Growth Operating System, which is nothing more than just a fancy name I gave to it, but it's a process of how you approach a business, and you do it through data, right? And you're looking at it, and you've got real facts coming at you. And so for me, the way that I start on a business is I come in and I have a 100-day process I go through. It's a series of 4 meetings where we get a goal, we then get the strategy to achieve that goal. From there, we reorganize the structure of the business around the strategy, and finally we shift into action or tactical planning to go accomplish that. We get that done in 100 days. And by the very nature of it, it means that that it's going to be shallow, right? Because how much can you do in 100 days? But it gets everyone focused, and that's super important. As soon as we're through that, we pivot to then running a typical strategy process, a typical growth process, and things like that, based on what everyone is doing. And the key to this is, so many times I go into an organization, and they'll want change. Everybody's always looking for change. And what happens is you still have your day job that you were doing, and now you've got an additional job. It's too much. You can't fit it all in. By going through determining what's important and reorganizing the company around it, it allows people to align, and they have to give up what they were doing, or minimize it at least, and then take it from there and go and focus on it. So since I run that same process, it's just, for me, the words are the same. The journey's the same. Now, the answers are very different. The products we're selling are very different. But I know that we have we call them MBRs, monthly business reviews. We have those on the 3rd week of the month. Every month we're going to have those. Now, they may move sometimes for maybe Christmas is here or something like that. But we're going to have that. We're going to use the term MBR. And when we're looking at data, we call it our 80-20 process. And the whole point is I bring that process. I help establish the goal. The team figures out how to get there. So it's really me managing the process, making sure we're all using the same language and we're on a cadence together. It allows us actually to kind of keep it going and keep people pretty happy. They know where they are in the journey.
And that's so key, is everyone knows where they are, and you give them a time. Here's, I don't want to call it a deadline, but it's like, we got 100 days to do this. It forces people to focus. We can fall off the side here and there, but we get back on and like, okay, we know we got this. We know where we are on things. We know where we're ahead on some things. We know where we need to catch up a little bit on some other things. But we know about Parkinson's law, where work expands to fill the time. Well, if you have some constraints around that, it's amazing how much people can get done, because it forces organizations. And I'll go back to the pandemic in the early days, when everybody was sent home in March of 2020, and a lot of organizations were like, all right, well, how do we work and not be at work, kind of thing. So it was a trial by fire in many organizations. Okay, what tools are available? Thankfully, there were tools available that were in use already that people could adjust to and be able to accommodate what they needed to do. But those early days of the pandemic, and I'm hoping that as we write and learn and reflect on what transpired, keeping all of the opinions and political side of things out of the mixture, I think a lot of businesses did an absolutely amazing job of being able to adapt to a situation quickly, get things up and running to the best of their ability, connecting teams and keeping business going. I hope that there will be books, if they're not already, written about that, because there were a lot of companies that did some amazing work in some very challenging and difficult times. And I think there's lessons to be learned with that, saying you cut out the fluff, you break down silos, you improve the communication, you go, what do we got to do next? And be very specific and tactile. And it speaks volumes to your 100-day plan, because that was something that people had to do, and a lot of organizations did an amazing job, starting from not having any remote access component to being fully up and running and being able to produce and still serve their customers. So it speaks volumes to that.
Well, you are so correct. There was two things I think that really have made all the difference. So the first piece is we really operate on a progress, not perfection. People get too tied up in their head wanting to deliver a perfect product, and it just doesn't happen for us. Maybe in certain areas it does, but in my world it doesn't. And as the leader, you got to give people permission to fail, but you want them to get better, right? So I have these 4 things I call the leader's mindset. So it's be data driven. We don't know everything, but that's okay. Let's get the data we can. And there's more data out there than people realize. The second one is no surprises, right? Bad news and relatives all stink after 3 days. So it's like bring it in, but you can't kill the messenger, right? Third one is be on pace. That 100 days that we use to start off, and it's just the first step, is you hit it right on the head. You're trying to shift culture. You're trying to shift a company. It's the length of time, which is really important. And it shows people you got to move fast. It's not about having a perfect strategy or whatever. And the companies I run, they're not startups, so we're not trying to figure out what they're doing. We already know what we are doing. We have to get down to what the core is, where we really make our money. The data does that for us. And then the final piece, which I think is the most important, is results matter. We will not be a company of best efforts. You hear it all the time. People say, well, I did my best. We actually have to score some touchdowns, right? We've got people depending on us. Between the two companies, we have about 6,000 employees. We pay for a lot of colleges and mortgages and light bills and all that. We got to make sure we keep these businesses going and we grow them. We want to give exceptional opportunities for our folks, right? Be good partners to our suppliers and our customers, and give an outstanding return to our partners, our shareholders, right? And if we can keep all that going, we get the opportunity to come tomorrow and do it again. So that progress, not perfection, has been a huge deal, and it allows people to feel like they can to go for it. And the second thing that you really nailed is what we do today. What I do today, I couldn't have done 5 years ago. I have in the United States over 80 locations, and without Teams and Zoom and all this video stuff, there's no way I could run all these businesses. So 50 different countries we have locations in around the world, or we sell products in around the world, and people all over the world. These technology benefits we have is phenomenal, and without the pandemic, it would not have pushed itself through it. We were way more available today. So it's been in some ways great, in some ways not so great.
Yeah, I think it moved the needle forward for a lot of companies. I think we eventually would have got there, but it probably would have been another decade from now, if not longer, because people are like, well, why do we need to do that? It's where things are going well now. So before we wrap up, I want to talk a little bit more about your book coming out. And, I always ask authors of this, what drove you to want to write a book? Because it's obviously a very time-consuming endeavor and all of that. But what motivated you to write the book?
Yeah, it is time consuming. It's taken a couple of years to get to this point. It should be ready for pre-order at the end of November, and then out available in all the typical places in the end of February. So for me, as I've looked back over my 30-year career, I've developed this skill set of being able to come in, take a company and shift it from where it was going and put it on stable footing and grow that business. And my sweet spot happens to be something in kind of the low hundreds millions, the middle 100 millions, middle market, getting it up to a couple $2 billion over a set course of years. That's my sweet spot. So I went through, I documented all the stuff I've been doing. And the first thing I'll tell you is, I don't know that I've particularly come up with anything new or not. It's just the way I approach it. It's the way that I come at it. So there's 5 key pieces. There's 80-20, which is really about data and understanding where you make your money at. Lean's been around forever. Toyota made it really famous. You absolutely need to go have that to get your waste out, but you can spend $1 million on lean on a nickel problem, 80-20 tells you where to focus. Talent is about all getting the folks aligned. There's 3 key pieces in the organization that you need. You got to have a CEO, which says we're absolutely going to go do this. Without it, people won't do it. You've got to have an operating team that knows what they're doing, been trained on it, and will follow through. And the final one, we call it a prophet. It's someone who actually understands how the process works. They're the trainer, they're the coach out there working with the team. So those 3 people are critical for it, right? Strategy is, it's of course typical strategy where you're going in 3 to 5 years, but it also aligns around the 80-20 and the process that we use to get there. So it's a bunch of meetings and how it comes together. And the final one is mergers and acquisitions, right? That's the rocket fuel. You get your business stable, you get it where it can grow organically, and then by buying other companies, you can take it to a whole nother level. So that's the whole model. And for me, putting it together and documenting it, because when I went to look and see out there around 80-20, there's not that many books. I can't find really that much written about it. There's a ton written about Pareto's principle and where it came from and how to think about it and all that. But the actual running of a business, I haven't been able to find really hardly any material out there. So I took my 30 years experience, condensed it down. The first book is called Profitable Growth Operating System. It's a little bit about me. It's a little bit about the 100 days and then the toolbox that you use, those I just talked about. And then there will be a series of books that come after it, 5 more books that will go in depth on the 80-20, on strategy, on talent, and really be kind of the workbooks, if you will, the actual book. So over the next couple of years, we hope to get all those published, but it's really exciting. It's been way harder than I thought it would to get it done because I want a really high quality product. And but thank you so much for the question.
I'm really looking forward to reading all that material because I'm a big systems junkie. I love watching, businesses grow and shine and the ones that do really well, they have systems in place, and it's just whether it's, industrial or, creating products or services or sports teams that win all the time. You're like, what's going on? They have a system, even though they got a completely different team than they had 4 years ago, like college sports, for example. It's like they're all new and they continue to win. It's like, what's going on? There's a system there. Yes, they got the strong leader, they've got an ops people, they got the talent. So you see again and again and again, you keep seeing, the teams that are really good and they continue to win. So I'm always looking forward to consuming different perspectives on that, because I take those nuggets and share them with people that I know, or if I'm helping a company out, it's like, yeah, try this because Bill wrote about this. Here's his book, go get it. It's important. Or I'll buy a copy and say, here, read this, and because a lot of times you tell people go buy a book and like, okay, yeah, I will. And a lot of times it's like, you hand it to them. It's like, there, I put a paper clip on the page you need to focus on right now. It's like, look at that. So I'm always, looking for stuff like that. So I'll definitely be sharing that as well. So Bill, I've loved this conversation. Where can people find out more about you and all this amazing work you're doing?
Yeah, so I have a website and it's my name. It's Bill Canady. So BILLCANADY.com. And you can go there and it'll tell you how to get in contact with me. It also will tell you about the books and my blog and those types of things. I'm on social media. I'm not very good at it, but I continue to learn. And probably the one I use more than anything else is LinkedIn. So, but feel free to reach out and really look forward to learning more about your books and everything that you're doing. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much, Michael.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bill. And I'll definitely have that information in the show notes. So really appreciate your time today, Bill, and continued success. And thank you for being you and doing all this amazing work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.